Today, back in the year 1799, the Rosetta Stone is found.
So we have this very interesting interaction between these languages. We think that the text probably originally is a Greek text because to honor the pharaoh as a god.
A soft tremor of anticipation moved through the archaeology department the morning the announcement broke. For decades, scholars had examined the Rosetta Stone under every kind of instrument imaginable: raking light, multispectral imaging, ultraviolet scanning, microphotography, laser mapping, and every conceivable variation of interpretive analysis. The stone, a granodiorite slab discovered in 1799 and decoded in the 19th century, had been pored over so exhaustively that few believed any meaningful secrets remained. Yet this morning felt different. A research consortium revealed that an advanced neural symbolic AI system had completed a reanalysis of the stone using techniques that had not existed even a decade earlier. What it uncovered stunned everyone who assumed the Rosetta Stone was a closed chapter in human history. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates.
5,000 years of time, and that there's these people that have this very bizarre language. It looks like computer code.
It does.
Doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
The revelation began with a line in the report. The inscriptions contain structural irregularities not attributable to erosion or carving error. That single sentence was the spark that suggested a breakthrough had occurred, one carrying implications far beyond linguistics. The AI had detected micropatterns in the arrangement, spacing, and glyph formation of the inscriptions. Patterns too subtle for human perception, but statistically consistent enough to imply intentionality. It was not that the known Greek, Demotic, and hieroglyphic texts were wrong. Rather, the AI found that the engravers layered another message beneath them, interwoven into the structure of the text itself. The Rosetta Stone, long regarded as the ultimate decipherment key, suddenly resembled something more intricate than a trilingual decree. It appeared to operate like a linguistic palimpsest, one that required computational depth to perceive. At first, the research team hesitated to publicize anything. The idea that one of antiquity's most famous artifacts contained an overlooked message seemed too extraordinary to accept without ironclad proof. But the AI's methodology was impeccable. Unlike earlier systems trained solely on linguistic corpora, this model combined semantic inference, probabilistic archaeology, material science simulation, and cultural historical modeling. It did not merely analyze the text, it analyzed the decision-making logic of the stone's creators. It mapped thousands of variants of scribal conventions, political motivations, ritual patterns, and symbolic encoding practices. It compared the Rosetta Stone against monumental inscriptions, funerary texts, administrative decrees, and temple engravings stretching across centuries of Egyptian history. In short, it performed contextual reasoning on a scope never before feasible. The patterns it uncovered could not be dismissed as coincidence. Irregularities appeared across all three scripts simultaneously. Certain hieroglyphic signs showed microscopic carving asymmetries that did not match the symmetry expected from the scribe's traditional toolset. Demotic ligatures displayed atypical compression patterns. The Greek text contained small variances in line length that deviated from the layout conventions of the period. To human eyes, these were imperfections. To the AI, they formed a lattice of syntactic cues, a structural scaffolding hiding a deeper inscription. Once the AI hypothesized that a concealed layer existed, it began constructing models of how the engravers might have encoded meaning without altering the surface appearance. It considered carving angles, stroke pressure variations, and even the acoustic properties of chisel impacts. It generated millions of possible interpretations of the irregularities, rejecting those that failed to show meaningful coherence across scripts. After weeks of continuous computation, the model converged on a translation that, while impossible to find with the naked eye, possessed a consistency too elegant to dismiss. The hidden message did not resemble the decree about Ptolemy V that scholars had known for centuries. Instead, it spoke in a tone radically different from the formal proclamations expected in temple inscriptions. The AI interpreted it as a metatext, a reflection on language, sovereignty, memory, and the fragility of transmission across generations. If the translation was accurate, the creators of the Rosetta Stone embedded a secondary commentary on the act of preserving meaning itself. It was as though the stone's artisans anticipated that languages rise and fall, that civilizations fracture, that future readers might struggle to understand, and that the very tools of interpretation might need guidance. According to the AI, the message described the shifting nature of authority and how rulers anchor legitimacy in written decrees. It spoke indirectly of fractured kingdoms, foreign rule, and the precarious balance of maintaining cultural continuity under turbulent political change. The tone was not defiant but contemplative, almost philosophical. The artisans seemed to acknowledge that regardless of a ruler's power, the endurance of meaning rested not in laws, but in the wisdom to preserve communication. Their encoded message read like an attempt to safeguard understanding for people far removed from their own time. This discovery forced scholars to confront an unsettling idea. The creators of the Rosetta Stone might have been more aware of posterity than previously assumed. They may have known that political decrees are temporary, but the tools for deciphering language can shape the understanding of entire civilizations. The stone's overt message was a royal proclamation. Its hidden message felt like a guidepost, a whisper from antiquity urging future minds to think beyond surface meanings. The AI's translation suggested that the stone's creators recognized the impermanence of power and the necessity of preserving the foundations of cross-cultural comprehension. The academic world reacted with equal parts astonishment and skepticism. Linguists, epigraphers, computational theorists, material scientists, and historians formed an immediate chorus of inquiry. Some argued that the AI had overfitted patterns into noise. Others contended that engraving irregularities were exactly what one would expect from a tool-based medium subject to erosion. Many pushed for independent verification, yet the idea captured the collective imagination. What if the Rosetta Stone had been designed not just to record a decree, but to communicate with a future intelligence capable of perceiving layers humans could not? As debate intensified, teams worldwide began replicating the AI's analysis. Using different architectures, different training data, and different interpretive frameworks, they tested whether the hidden pattern held up under scrutiny. Surprisingly, multiple systems arrived at conceptually similar translations, though phrased differently. The underlying message about continuity, communication, and the awareness of future readers surfaced again and again. Even skeptics acknowledged that such consistency across independent models demanded explanation. The possibility that ancient scribes intentionally encoded a message for a distant future raised profound questions about historical cognition. It challenged assumptions about the degree of metalinguistic awareness present in Hellenistic Egypt. Scholars revisited old debates about scribal training, temple schools, and the intellectual culture of the priesthood. If the artisans did embed a metatext, they must have possessed a sophisticated understanding of language's dual role, as a tool of statecraft and as a medium for preserving human continuity. But the implications extended beyond Egyptology. The AI's breakthrough demonstrated that ancient artifacts might contain information previously dismissed as random variants. Carvings, manuscripts, pottery patterns, textiles, architectural measurements, anything with structure could hold latent signals. For decades, archaeologists accepted that many features of artifacts resulted from chance, material limitation, or human error. Now a new possibility emerged. Some irregularities might encode meaning that only multimodal AI systems could detect. This prospect transformed archaeology into something closer to a dialogue across millennia. As the concept gained traction, projects launched worldwide to scan artifacts using the new AI methods. Tablets from Mesopotamia, stelae from Mesoamerica, bronzeware inscriptions from China, and linear scripts from the Aegean underwent reanalysis. The AI's discovery became a catalyst for re-examining written heritage with fresh eyes, not out of skepticism toward earlier scholars, but out of recognition that human perception and manual decipherment, though powerful, have limits. If the stone's creators did intend to embed a message for future readers, the implications extended into the realm of cultural introspection. The stone had always symbolized linguistic unity. Its modern reinterpretation elevated it into a symbol of temporal unity, a bridge linking the anxieties, hopes, and intellectual aspirations of the ancient world with the technological capacities of the 21st century. It suggested that ancient artisans understood the fragility of knowledge and felt compelled to safeguard it for those they could never meet. The event prompted discussions about how societies encode information today. If a civilization 2,000 years from now encountered surviving digital remnants of the modern world, would they understand them? Would they possess the tools to interpret them? The AI's findings encouraged scholars to reflect on the durability of information systems and the importance of creating frameworks that transcend linguistic, technological, and cultural boundaries. The Rosetta Stone had served as a key to unlock the past. Now it served as a mirror, reflecting the challenges of preserving meaning for future generations. This reinterpretation also reshaped the understanding of the artisans themselves. Throughout history, they had been portrayed primarily as craftsmen executing a royal decree. Now they appeared as thoughtful participants in a broader intellectual tradition, individuals aware of the transience of their era and invested in communicating something more durable than political authority. Their encoded message implied a subtle resistance, not against rulers, but against oblivion. They carved not only for their king, but for the long arc of human continuity. The AI's translation also offered insights into the socio-political context of the period. The reign of Ptolemy V was marked by internal conflict, cultural negotiation, and shifting allegiances. The scribes may have lived through unrest, witnessing the fragile interplay between Greek and Egyptian traditions. Their encoded reflections suggested an awareness that political decrees alone could not preserve identity or stability. They seemed to grasp that the survival of cultural memory relied on careful transmission, not merely on obedience to rulers. This nuance enriched historical understanding of how scribes navigated the pressures of a hybridized society. While no definitive consensus emerged immediately, the scholarly community increasingly acknowledged that the AI had exposed a significant new dimension to the stone's meaning. Even those skeptical of the specific translation conceded that the structural irregularities demanded explanation. The very act of re-examining the stone drew attention to the potential of computational methods to reveal hidden patterns in known artifacts. The discovery highlighted that historical interpretation evolves not only through new finds, but through new ways of perceiving old ones. The implications also radiated outward into the philosophy of knowledge. The event sparked discussions about the relationship between human intuition and machine inference. For centuries, deciphering ancient texts was the domain of brilliant individual minds guided by intuition, pattern recognition, and deep cultural immersion. The AI's success did not diminish that legacy. Instead, it expanded the toolkit. Machines could now detect signal in dimensions that human senses could not even register. This did not replace human interpretation. It amplified it. Scholars guided the AI, questioned its outputs, and contextualized its findings. The collaboration signaled a new era in which human insight and machine precision worked together to unlock humanity's past. The event also influenced public imagination. Museums experienced a surge of visitors seeking to view the Rosetta Stone not just as a historical artifact, but as an enigmatic object whose significance was evolving in real time. Documentaries appeared overnight. Debates flooded editorial pages. People wondered whether other ancient artifacts might contain hidden messages awaiting a sufficiently advanced intelligence to reveal them. The stone transcended its status as a museum piece and became part of a global conversation about meaning, continuity, and the dialogue between ancient creators and modern technology. Even as discussions intensified, experts emphasized that the implications went beyond the literal translation. The stone's reinterpretation forced a reconsideration of how information can be layered, encoded, and preserved. Ancient artisans worked with chisels and stone. Modern societies work with satellites, fiber optics, and computational models. Yet the underlying challenge remains unchanged: how to ensure that meaning survives the erosion of language, culture, and time. The AI's discovery reinvigorated interest in designing information systems that could withstand centuries of change. Engineers began referencing the Rosetta Stone as a metaphor for future-proof communication, inspiring research into durable encoding methods, universal symbolic frameworks, and long-term knowledge repositories. The discovery also enriched dialogues about cultural stewardship. The stone, originally a product of colonial discovery and later a centerpiece of museums, now carried a new narrative about interconnectedness across time. Scholars argued that understanding the stone's deeper message emphasized the value of collaboration, transparency, and shared heritage. The reinterpretation encouraged nations, institutions, and researchers to approach ancient artifacts not as possessions, but as conversations linking people separated by vast expanses of time. As the implications settled into public consciousness, the stone's new translation continued to prompt reflection. It emphasized that even the most iconic artifacts may contain depths unimagined. It reminded everyone that history is not static, that understanding evolves as tools evolve, and that artifacts once thought fully explored may yet hold secrets. It suggested that ancient creators were capable of remarkable foresight, weaving layers of meaning into their work that could only be unlocked once humanity developed the tools to perceive them. The AI's decoding reframed the stone as more than a linguistic key. It became a testament to the resilience of human communication across time. It revealed that ancient artisans grappled with questions still relevant today: how to preserve knowledge, how to communicate across cultural divides, how to anchor meaning when languages shift, and how to speak to people who live in worlds unimaginable to one's own. The stone's creators may never have anticipated technologies like neural networks or multispectral scanners, but they seem to understand that future minds would search for meaning, and that they could help guide that search. The event demonstrated that even the most familiar objects can surprise us when examined from new angles. It showed that ancient and modern knowledge systems can intersect in ways that illuminate both. It reminded people that the past is not a closed landscape but a living field of discovery. And above all, it revealed that the act of communication across languages, cultures, and eras is one of humanity's most enduring achievements. The reinterpretation of the Rosetta Stone stood as a powerful example of how technology can deepen understanding without severing the connection to human inquiry. The AI did not invent meaning, it uncovered a structure deliberately woven by minds long gone. In doing so, it bridged thousands of years, connecting modern analytical capabilities with ancient intellectual intention. The stone became not just a relic of the past, but a testament to continuity, a reminder that knowledge transcends epochs when preserved with care. The discovery encouraged continued exploration of ancient artifacts through new technological lenses. It also invited reflection on what messages modern societies leave behind. If future civilizations uncover the remnants of today's world, what will they understand? What will they struggle to decipher? The reinterpretation of the Rosetta Stone became a guide for thinking about the future of knowledge preservation, suggesting that meaning endures best when encoded thoughtfully, layered intelligently, and offered to posterity with humility. As discussions evolved and research expanded, the Rosetta Stone continued to inspire. Its reinterpretation reinforced the idea that communication across time is not merely a matter of transmitting information. It is an act of connection, a gesture of trust that future generations will seek to understand. The AI's decoding revealed that the stone's creators understood this, embedding a message that bridged eras. The revelation did not diminish the stone's original significance. It enriched it, adding depth to an artifact already central to human understanding. The reinterpretation marked a turning point in how ancient artifacts were approached. It emphasized that understanding is not static, that meaning can evolve as perception evolves, and that humanity's past remains full of surprises. The Rosetta Stone, once thought completely deciphered, revealed that even the most examined objects can hold layers waiting to be discovered. It stood as a reminder that curiosity, combined with new tools, continually reshapes the narrative of human history. And so the stone continued to speak, not just through the inscriptions carved on its surface, but through the layers of meaning it carried within. It reminded everyone that communication, even across thousands of years, is possible when people dare to imagine their message reaching beyond the boundaries of their own time. It showed that meaning is not fixed, but unfolds as new minds encounter old words. And it demonstrated that humanity's ongoing quest to understand its past remains one of the most remarkable endeavors ever undertaken. The AI's decoding of the Rosetta Stone reshaped the understanding of an artifact once thought fully known. It revealed a hidden thread woven through the stone's inscriptions, connecting ancient artisans with modern researchers in a conversation spanning millennia. Its implications extended into archaeology, linguistics, technology, philosophy, and cultural memory. And it affirmed that the pursuit of knowledge is never complete. New tools bring new perspectives, and new perspectives bring new discoveries. The Rosetta Stone, once a key to deciphering ancient language, became a symbol of humanity's capacity to rediscover its own history layer by layer as curiosity and innovation continue to illuminate what was once hidden. In the months following the AI's groundbreaking interpretation, an unexpected shift began to ripple across disciplines that had never before intersected with Egyptology. Cognitive scientists, intrigued by the possibility that ancient artisans encoded layered meaning for distant interpreters, started to re-examine assumptions about how early cultures conceptualized the future. Their research had traditionally focused on how ancient peoples perceived time, cyclical, linear, or ritualistic. But the Rosetta revelation introduced a challenging new dimension: intentional futurity. The idea that individuals living over 2 millennia ago might have created something with the explicit expectation that unknown minds would someday decode their subtler messages defied long-standing assumptions about ancient cognition. Neuroscientists, too, grew fascinated with the cognitive complexity implied by such an endeavor. If the engraving contained a hidden meta-layer, it suggested a multi-layered process of thought. Constructing a political decree, embedding a philosophical reflection, and doing so in a way that deliberately required a decoding mechanism not yet invented. This approach to communication required extraordinary foresight, almost a form of cognitive time travel. Scholars began exploring whether ancient training systems, scribal academies, temple instruction, and priestly education encouraged an awareness of linguistic abstraction far more advanced than previously documented. One research initiative drew parallels between the stone's encoded layer and ancient mnemonic traditions. These traditions often compressed knowledge into stories, symbols, and structured patterns that could expand upon demand. Oral cultures used narrative compression to preserve genealogies and cosmologies. It was possible, researchers argued, that the artisans extended similar principles into material form. The stone, then, might represent a fusion of oral memory logic with written durability. This prompted a surge of scholarship comparing the stone structure with storytelling motifs, symbolic sequences, and even astronomical cycles. The hidden message seemed less like an anomaly and more like a continuation of a broader cultural practice of encoding meaning within meaning. Anthropologists took the idea even further. They suggested that the stone's creators may have lived at a cultural crossroads where the boundaries between ritual, politics, and communication were fluid. Under such circumstances, the stone could have served dual roles: an official decree for the present and a ritual artifact for the future. Some posited that the artisans viewed writing as more than a bureaucratic tool. They saw it as an instrument of cosmological alignment, something that could link ephemeral human actions to the enduring order of the universe. If so, the hidden message might signify an attempt to harmonize political reality with deeper cultural truths, ensuring that future generations understood not just the events of the era, but the worldview underlying them. As such hypotheses proliferated, mathematicians and information theorists entered the conversation. The AI's discovery ignited excitement in those who studied the fundamental principles of encoding systems. One group in particular argued that the stone's hidden structure resembled an early form of error correction encoding. By weaving the message across 3 scripts, the artisans might have ensured that even if one text deteriorated or was destroyed, the underlying pattern would still be recoverable. They demonstrated mathematically that the irregularities aligned in a way that optimized redundancy without overtly drawing attention. The stone, in this interpretation, acted as a robust information storage device, primitive by modern standards but astonishingly sophisticated for its time. This interpretation gained traction when computational linguists discovered that variations in carving angles corresponded statistically to a simple form of bitwise encoding. The artisans could have manipulated small differences in stroke execution to encode binary-like distinctions. These findings transformed the stone from a linguistic artifact into an early experiment in structured information design, whether or not the artisans consciously conceptualized binary structure. They appeared to understand that small, repeated micro-variations could hold consistent meaning. This challenged assumptions about the origins of information theory. Modern computations rest on abstractions of logic and mathematics, but the Rosetta Stone implied that even without formal notation, ancient cultures may have intuited principles of structured encoding through experience and tradition. Historians of science, inspired by this possibility, began re-evaluating ancient technical achievements. They noted that the builders of the pyramids, the creators of intricate calendars, and the designers of monumental architecture clearly possessed profound mathematical knowledge. What if such knowledge extended into symbolic engineering? What if certain inscriptions, artifacts, or alignments contained cognitive structures that went unnoticed because researchers lacked the tools to detect them? The AI's decoding became a catalyst for this new movement, prompting scholars to revisit artifacts long dismissed as purely decorative or ceremonial. Simultaneously, philosophers engaged with the deeper implications regarding the nature of meaning. The discovery suggested that meaning does not reside solely on the surface of a text or object. It can be layered, intentional, and deeply contextual. Meaning becomes a relationship between the creator, the artifact, and the interpreter. The AI acted as a new type of interpreter, one capable of perceiving dimensions humans had overlooked. Philosophers debated whether this meant meaning itself was expanding, or whether humans were finally acquiring tools sensitive enough to perceive meaning that had always been present. This sparked new conversations about epistemology, asking whether humans truly understand ancient cultures or merely interpret them through the limits of their own perceptual frameworks. As the debates evolved, another field unexpectedly entered the conversation: environmental archaeology. Some researchers proposed that the stone's hidden message might have been influenced by environmental conditions at the time of carving. Egypt during the Ptolemaic era experienced environmental fluctuations, including Nile irregularities that affected agriculture and political stability. Under such uncertainty, the artisans may have developed heightened sensitivity to the longevity of their work. They could not control the river or the climate, but they could control how information was preserved. The encoded message, therefore, might represent an attempt to assert stability and continuity in a world of environmental unpredictability. This perspective tied the stone's creation to a broader narrative of resilience, highlighting how ancient communities adapted culturally and cognitively to environmental stress. While academics wrestled with the implications, artists and writers seized on the idea that the stone contained layers meant for the distant future. Contemporary creators found inspiration in the notion that communication can transcend time, that messages can be crafted for people who have not yet been born. This led to a wave of artistic projects exploring temporal communication. Sculptures designed to change meaning as materials age, poems written in layered structures intended for multiple interpretations, and architectural installations that embed subtle shifts in perspective. The reinterpretation of the stone influenced not just scholarly understanding, but cultural creativity, inspiring new forms of expression based on the interplay between permanence and transformation. Amid this flourishing creativity, engineers and technologists also drew inspiration. The idea that ancient artisans successfully encoded layered information prompted research into long-term data preservation. Modern digital storage faces a crisis of impermanence. Physical media degrade, software formats become obsolete, and electromagnetic archives are vulnerable. The stones seem to offer a metaphorical blueprint for more durable design. Researchers began developing materials inspired by ancient stone carving methods, testing how micro-variations in material properties could encode enormous amounts of data. Some explored engraving at nanoscale to create layered inscriptions readable by future generations of scanning technologies. The Rosetta revelation thus contributed to a vision of future-proof archives capable of surviving centuries or even millennia. This technological shift sparked ethical conversations. If modern societies begin encoding information for the far future, what responsibilities accompany that act? Whose voices get preserved? What assumptions do creators make about future interpreters? The ancient artisans seemed to have encoded philosophical reflections rather than political directives, choosing lasting insights over ephemeral agendas. Modern creators confronted the challenge of balancing present needs with future unknowns. The stone's reinterpretation encouraged humility, the recognition that cultures change, languages evolve, and meaning must be crafted with care if it is to survive. During this period, a new wave of interdisciplinary conferences emerged, bringing together experts from fields that had rarely interacted. One such gathering focused on meta-communication across civilizations, drawing participants from archaeology, cognitive science, astrophysics, information theory, and AI development. The central theme was understanding how to create messages resilient to changes in language, culture, technology, and worldview. The Rosetta Stone, once seen as a product of its time, had become a universal model for communicating across deep time. Even scientists working in fields as distant as interstellar messaging found relevance in its layered approach. They discussed how to send intelligible signals across vast cosmic distances where potential recipients might lack any shared, linguistic or conceptual foundation. The ancient artisans, unknowingly, seem to have pioneered techniques that could inform messages not only across time, but across the stars. Amid these expansions, one of the most profound implications emerged from educational reform. Universities began designing curricula that emphasized cross-disciplinary thinking, inspired by the stone's convergence of linguistics, material science, and symbolic structure. Students learned to analyze artifacts through multiple lenses, trained to detect patterns, systems, and hidden structures in everything from literature to mathematical theory. The discovery encouraged a generation of scholars to resist siloed thinking and embrace a multidimensional approach to interpretation. Courses in AI ethics incorporated discussions about how machines reshape understanding of the past, while archaeology programs integrated computational training that once belonged solely to computer science departments. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on this AI Rosetta Stone twist and what happens next? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.